one of the things that I think is apparent to everyone, and if it wasn't apparent before, it was clearly evident once you got to the scouting combine, is that this year's defensive back class, corners, safety, doesn't really matter, and especially when you group them all together, is special. Like really special. Like so special that I almost want to compare them for their position equivalent to the 2014 wide receiver class. Like we remember talking 3 years ago about how great and special that receiver class was going to be, and it's borne out to be just that. So many good to great players out of that draft class. It's just crazy when you think about it. Just absolutely crazy the talent that was available at the wide receiver position. Arguably the best wide receiver draft of all time. And when I look at this year's defensive back class, I think there's a chance it could end up being one of the best, if not the best, defensive back classes that we've ever seen. It's the best defensive back class in totality that I can ever remember seeing. Just phenomenal talent at all levels. I mean, you're going to get day three starters. You'll probably have some guys that are undrafted that end up starting and making impact at the NFL level. And that's how good this draft class is at the defensive back position. And it's interesting because, it can be hard to grade these guys. And even as I was going through and grading all of these bigger name defensive backs, the guys you might envision being taken in the first 4 rounds, there were so many guys that I was wondering if my grading was kind of flawed because it was just amazing how many guys were grading out as first round, second round, third round type of talents. It was just incredible. Just crazy how good this corner and safety class is. Now, ultimately, the guy that I think is the number one corner in this draft class is Marshon Lattimore from Ohio State. When I watch him on film, there's not a lot that I don't like. He's got the prototype size you look for at the position. He's an incredible athlete with great quicks and great speed. So he's a guy with his explosive burst and quickness. He has recovery quickness, recovery speed. He has deep speed. So he's a guy that would be really, really tough to challenge vertically at the NFL level. He's got good footwork in his back pedal. He's got the size and length to be effective in press coverage. He's going to need some work there. Sometimes he can be a little slow to react to receivers' breaks, but he's outstanding. I think in particular this is important at the NFL level. So many routes run are slants and just in general shorter routes. It's about getting the ball out of the quarterback's hands and getting it into the hands of the receivers and letting them make plays. Marshon Lattimore is outstanding at playing the slant and some of those shorter, quicker type of routes. Um, he's like I said, just in general, really smooth and solid from a technique and footwork and fundamental standpoint. You can see the athleticism in his footwork and the technique that he utilizes there. His ability to flip and turn his hips and run is outstanding. Sometimes he can get a little handsy in his practice technique. So he, like I said, when I reference he needs some work there, that's where the work's going to need to come from. But I always thought he was outstanding in terms of mirroring receivers and their movements. And what I really liked about him, and this is something that athleticism affords you that not everybody can do. Um, I remember Dion was always outstanding to me in terms of he could sit there and guide somebody to the sidelines, but he never actually had to look at the receiver. Like the whole time he was playing the receiver, you could see his eye was in the backfield. He was looking at the quarterback. He was able to stay with his man, obviously. That's why he's arguably the greatest cover corner of all time. But his ability to always be facing the football. And Marshon Lattimore shows me a lot of those traits as well. He doesn't have to be playing the receiver. He can be running with the receiver and playing the quarterback's eyes and playing the football, which lends itself to having good ball skills and being able to force some turnovers. And he's got good ball skills, not the best ball skills in this draft, but good enough. He could be a little bit of a threat to make some big plays on the defensive side of the ball. His instincts, I think, are impressive for the corner position, especially for a guy without a ton of experience. Last year, being behind guys like Eli Apple and Garyon Conley, where he's at in terms of his overall understanding of football, I think is outstanding. Really, really good in run support, too, in my opinion. I thought he was outstanding in run support. I really, really did. I thought he showed consistent willingness and effort to want to stick his nose in. I thought he was good at maintaining his discipline and holding his contain and staying to his responsibility. He's got athleticism. When you bring him off the edge to break up some running plays in the backfield, his instincts again come into play because he's really quick to recognize running plays. And I thought his tackling form was really good, and he had some nice pop again for a corner. I just love this kid. I thought he played hard consistently all the time. He was a guy that you would see in lateral pursuit make some plays that other corners just wouldn't make. The only real concern I have for Marshon Lattimore is durability, in particular the soft tissue issues he's had with his hamstrings. For a guy with that athleticism, you have the concern about, he's had some hamstring issues. It's caused him to miss some games. Um, you know, is that going to be an issue at the NFL level where you're always worried about he's tweaked a hamstring, he's pulled a hamstring, potentially torn a hamstring? How much is he going to be able to stay on the field? And then that's a real viable concern. Um, but man, oh man, when you look at the complete package of the football player, this is to me the number one corner in this draft class. Um, to me, he's a top 5 player in this draft. Just an outstanding talent. And even with some of the hamstring issues, the upside is so tremendous. When you're talking about teams and elite premium positions in the NFL, you're talking about quarterback, you're talking about an edge rusher, you're talking about a left tackle, and you're talking about a corner. Marshon Lattimore shows me everything that indicates he can be a dominant shutdown type, a number one cover corner in the NFL. And those are guys that if you don't take in the top 10, you might even take in the top 5. In terms of where he should go in this draft, who knows when draft night comes Thursday night where he ends up going. Could San Francisco or Chicago fall in love with him? Possible, but probably not likely. I think his real draft range begins at Tennessee and probably ends at Buffalo. If he falls outside of the top 10, it is probably one, a real upset in this draft, and two, a reflection of why some of those teams are picking in the top 10 and why they will be picking in the top 10 again in years to come, because they're morons for passing up a guy with this type of upside. I mean, just incredible stuff that I saw out of this kid. And I think that he's going to be one of those guys that when you look at him long term, I think he's going to be one of the real crown jewels out of the 2017 draft class. I really do. Leading what could be an all time legendary secondary class.